And welcome into a live Locked On Lions squad show, post-game edition. The Lions fall on Sunday Night Football. I'm Jake Riepma, and we'll discuss how it happened. Over to you, Natalie Kerwin.
Natalie Kerwin here with FanDuel Sports Network. Unfortunately, my prediction for tonight did not come true, and I don't think Bradford Banta's did either.
Natalie, Bradford Banta here. I couldn't agree with you more. 22-year NFL veteran and coach. Hey, look, Detroit ran into a KC team that found its rhythm tonight. You know, hats off to KC. Actually, look forward to talking about the game.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
The Lions Squad Show does start right now. Jake Riepma alongside Natalie Kerwin and Bradford Banta. I wish we had better news to discuss. Detroit falls in Kansas City 30-17, the final in this one. Come say hello in the comments section. We know you've got a lot to say about this one, as do we. But just, guys, we were talking about before we hopped on, a tough weekend in the state of Michigan. And you know what? It's late on a Sunday night, but we'll get it all off our chest and like a tough Lions gritty team we'll roll up our sleeves and we'll bounce back going into the week. Natalie Kerwin, I kick it to you first. Your initial thoughts with this one.
Yeah, well, tough weekend to be a football fan in the state of Michigan is right.
Spartans. Baseball too. Tigers broke our hearts Friday night too. Yeah. I know this is Locked On Lions squad show, but we were all watching that game late into the night and that broke our hearts too.
I was up till 2 a.m. I was wired. I thought I could fall asleep, and I said, I am so locked in. I have to watch all 15 innings of this. So, again, not to make it about baseball, but yes, just my heartstrings, I don't know if they could be torn up anymore. And so that includes watching this game here tonight. And that brings us here to our Locked On Lions squad show. This game, we all knew it wasn't going to be easy. We were optimistic about this one, right? Because, we thought Chiefs coming off of a, tough loss to Jacksonville, they're trying to get their stride back. But the Lions, they've been, adding week by week, leading with, number one offense in the league. They've had at least, they've been having 30+ point performances. I mean, they've been on a roll themselves, but it wasn't going to be easy going to Arrowhead. And I just, I don't want to say this was a game all about the refs, but that was a huge part of it. Our secondary is really decimated, and there's a lot of things to pick out, but this was a tough one. This was a toughie as I was trying to take some notes throughout this one. Kansas City definitely hit their stride for sure, and Detroit just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we are, 4-2, and going into week 7, we're going to end up we have Tampa Bay, who is very hot right now, taking them on next week. They're going to have to look. It's going to be a long flight home from Kansas City. You get back in, you try to get a night's rest. Then you come in the morning, you watch the film, you break it down, meet with the players, get everything off your chest, what has to be said. And everybody knows that Dan is going to be open and honest with this team, along with the leaders in the locker room. It's a tough one to endure, but it just didn't feel good the entire game. And it started with that goal line play where they called an illegal shift, which is totally the right call. And they didn't do it. You check on that during the week, and I'm taking a note. I mean, it's Rule 747 talking about illegal shift on the golf touchdown catch, which was an amazing catch in itself, and the concentration that he had, and then getting into the end zone. But at the same time, you got to play by the rules, and they got called for it after the officials were able to conference and hash everything out. So, but after that, things just did not get back on track, and you had, Amon-Ra had the drop on the 4th down, and then we had the roughing the passer by Aiden. And man, I mean, you're that far away from the quarterback. Come on, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
You can't play this caliber team and make those type of mistakes.
No doubt.
So,
really
yeah.
uncharacteristic mistakes as well. And which, by the way, today's Locked On Lions squad show is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only beginning. Stay tuned later for this week's highlights and moving the game forward. Got to add a little comedy relief to our night tonight, and really nailed that sponsor read 5 minutes and 50 seconds into this one, guys. Way to go on by me, and it just it flows so seamlessly in there. But let's break down the end of this game. We'll do kind of work backwards because it just happened only a couple minutes ago, and it's fresh in my mind and fresh and everybody in the comments. That kind of unfortunate little turn of events at the end there with Brian Branch and Juju Smith-Schuster getting into a little post-game scuffle. Bradford and I both were watching it live because it was post-game, Nat, right before you hopped onto the live stream. But I mean, Bradford, I'll kick it to you first, but it's clear as day, Brian Branch started this and he's got to grow up, man. I'm sick of seeing Brian Branch make mistakes like that are a sign of immaturity. So if you didn't miss it, and if you're like us, where we're getting ready to hop on and go live on a show, the game's over, and then all of a sudden you got a number of Lions uniforms and Chiefs uniforms scrumming in the middle of the field. It was caused by Brian Branch, and we think he's going to hear from the league as far as fines go. No,
the league is definitely going to crack down on Branch for this. How hard? We don't know. He is a multi-offender. So that is not a feather in his cap when it comes to this circumstance. It's going to, will it be a suspension? I don't know. That's a little harsh. Possibly. Could it be? I don't know. But, you have the helmet throw versus Green Bay. You have, he was at one point, he was 3 for 3, like 3 UNRs. Or unnecessary roughness or unsportsmanlike in the first 3 games. And you can't do that to be the caliber player that he is. And look, I understand it gets heated. It's competitive as all get out. The game is over. You're going against, just walk off the field. That's all you have to do.
Yep.
Just walk off the field. Even if Mahomes comes over and tries to shake your hand, you deny it. And then, Juju comes over and, and starts talking smack, just turn, walk away. That's it. Just walk away. That's hairy high school BS that goes on. You can't do it because now opponents know how to get underneath your skin.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. And they've been doing it all season. And when are the Lions as an organization, let alone the NFL, going to stand up and be like, hey, bro, enough is enough. This is the penalty. I look for this one to come down. I look for the NFL to come down on him pretty doggone hard. And what I mean by hard, I would imagine possibly about a $50,000 fine, at the least. So we'll see what happens.
To your point, sometimes it's better to just take the high road. As hard as it is in the moment, sometimes you just got to be able to wipe away what just happened during the game. And like you said, walk off the field. It is hard for these guys when obviously you just lose in that kind of way. And it is heat of the moment. You got the chirping and all of that. It's just in your blood. It's in your DNA you want to fight back and do that. And that's the kind of guy Brian Branch is, of course, as we've seen, that's in his history. But yeah, I could also expect the league to crack down in a big way. So I'll be interested to see what happens this coming week.
Yeah. And to your point, Bradford, it just, when you're a repeat offender like that, you've already, got your target on the back a little bit. And I mean, he got tossed out of Green Bay last year, even in a game that the Lions won. And I couldn't agree more with your point about the rest of the league watches this. They know that, okay, Brian Branch is a short fuse guy and somebody that you can get under his skin, and it costs his team. And I disagree wholeheartedly with some of the comments. I'll throw a few of them up here. We won't spend a ton more time on this, that they need that fire. No, that's not fire. That's immaturity. It's stupidity. Fire is dominating the line of scrimmage. It's controlling the physicality between the whistles, between the white lines, in the confines of the game. That's what fire is, competitive fire. So I would just shut down that comment right away. But what we can talk about are some of the mistakes that the Lions made, some of the calls that went against the Lions that were very clear. However, Nat, I'll cue you up a little bit, because I know there's a lot of discussion to be had, and people can make their own comments in that section. That's what the comment section is for. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs were not called for a single penalty, and maybe they just played the cleanest game in the history of the world. And maybe that makes us sound like, I saw some of the comments, sore losers and everything like that. I don't think it's that. I think we're just breaking down the game in a post-game show. What a crazy concept. And the fact of the matter is, no penalties were called on the Chiefs.
I mean, there's something to be said about that. I feel like, when do you ever see that stat line in a game? It doesn't matter what opponents you're putting against each other. I feel like you don't ever see that where no team comes away with no penalties. I just feel like I haven't seen that. I don't know. Am I crazy, guys, for saying that?
No, you're not.
So I don't know. I find that wild. So Lions had 4, Chiefs had 0. I mean, I was trying to take notes throughout this one, right? Starting with the touchdown that was called back, Jared Goff, them calling a legal motion on Goff for not getting set, which at first, I mean, that was, to me, I guess, as they replayed it, I just thought it was crazy that it felt like they threw the flag like 5 minutes later.
Very late.
That was the problem with it, right? Like, why couldn't they have done it right then and there? Like, Bradford, I guess let's just break that down while I'm talking about it. Why did it take so long, Bradford?
No, so what you have is that you have the officials have to conference on that, because they have to conference on that, and then once they do, that's when the white hat threw the flag, because there's a couple of different zones that the officials watch, and the white hat, the referee, ends up watching the quarterback. And then his eyes start going to the guard and tackle as well, depending on if it's a run or a pass. So once Goff lined up under center, they had to confer about that. And then he started motioning out towards the left side. Now he becomes the line judges on that side, the down official. He becomes that official's responsibility. That grabs his attention. And then they snapped it to Montgomery, and then Montgomery started rolling left. So they're thinking it is a wildcat run, and then it converts back to a pass. So the official's eyes on the line, official's eyes are kind of bouncing back and forth between Goff and then the in men on the line of scrimmage to his side. So once that play happened, they had to get together and be like, hey, did the quarterback ever stop? And the line official, that would be the question, and the referee would ask the line official. And then the line official would be like, no, he never stopped. And well, like, okay, then that's a penalty because he lined up initially under center. And that's the conference that had to take place. I thought they did a good job of sorting that play out. Mm-hmm. Now, there was the other one at the end of the half where Yasin got the DPI, on Kelsey. I was like, for as much as they were letting them play, I was like, okay, that's, that could have been a little bit touchy, and I felt like that was, there's a couple plays that happened in this game where there were turning points, and I felt like that one was a turning point play as well.
For sure. I agree with this comment all the way, and I think it's a good way to send us to break. One loss doesn't define a season. We have a secondary that was destroyed. We need a hard loss to refocus, bounce back against a good Bucs team next week, and go into the bye holding our heads high. So that was well said. I already lost the username on who said that one. The Atari Network. There we go. But I do want to break down, take a deeper dive on some of those turning point plays. The drop pass from Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is so uncharacteristic, at the top of that list. So we will discuss that and take a really close look at the offensive side of the ball next on a live Locked On Lions squad show. Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by Meissen and Main. You know the saying, you look good, feel good, and you play good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp, but they feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's where Meissen and Main comes in. Meissen and Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected it ever since. Their shirts are stretchy, moisture wicking, wrinkle resistant, and machine washable. No ironing, no dry cleaning. That's good. That's good. We love that. Right now, Meissen and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at MeisenandMain.com. That's Mizzen and Main.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Meissen. You spell it Mizzen and Main, MAIN.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, don't worry. You can find Meissen and Main stores in select states. How about that? Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is also brought to you by our good friends at Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, you get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead time keeps you from punting on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. I see what they did there, blind side covered. That's good. Their Trademaster perks, oh, you gotta love them. Priority shipping, dedicated support, and make the whole process smoother. And don't forget about the part finder. Tools and 3D schematics can save your hours on jobs wherever detail matters. So join the free Trademaster program today. Score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. All you have to do is visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your order. That's SHNFL5 at supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, we reset a Sunday night football post-game show, a sad Sunday night football post-game show. But you know what? That's why we got Natalie Kerwin and Bradford Banta here to bring up the spirits, guys.
Tough and one. Jake Riepma, come on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I was just out of breath after all those reads. Woo. But here we go. How about we start with that costly drop from Amon-Ra St. Brown. Lions seemingly marching down the field with a 10-6 lead. You think about possibly going up 17-6, but instead the timing of it all turned into a 2-for-1. And Nat, I feel like that's really a big part where this game changed. It's just so uncharacteristic from Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it changed the game. It was a huge momentum swing right before half, and uncharacteristic is a huge way to put it. And you can tell it anytime the camera went back to him after the game, like you could tell he was beating himself up about it, because that is not like him. And he is someone that is really hard on himself. And as I've continued to read too on my phone after this game, it's like, that was the game, one of the big game-changing parts of this game that people can't stop talking about. It's not the end-all be-all, but it was could have been a huge part in putting the Lions up and changing a part of this, right? Because that drop on fourth down, it prevented the Lions from scoring. Eventually, the Chiefs went and scored off of it, and the Lions, it just felt like they were playing catch-up the entire rest of the game after that, and they were picking our defense apart. So it just that was, it was funny just sitting here watching it. My mom said, I hope that doesn't bite the Lions in the butt the whole rest of the game. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. With Amon-Ra being one of the leaders of the team, just to display those types of emotion on the sidelines, he just has to, in my opinion, just kind of be careful about it, because players feed off of his emotions. And was it a bad drop? Yes. Was it a turning point? Yes. But at the same time, the defense has to step up, and they'd be like, okay, offense, you didn't get it. Now we got your back. Because, look, Amon-Ra was targeted 10 times this game, and he had 9 catches. Unfortunately, that was the one catch that he didn't come through in the clutch. And one of the things that I have written down is I wrote it down during the game, is what buttons do the Detroit Lions, what buttons are they going to have to push to get J-Mo to play this way week in and week out?
He's really good tonight.
Oh, God. I don't know if it was because he's from St. Louis, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just the proximity of the game, wanting to show out for, people that came in for the game. I don't know what it is, but if he can bring that type of effort week in and week out, then, hey, he's going to be just fine. Just not have that roller coaster ride that we've been seeing from him in the first part of the season. I think he showed something tonight, and then the rest of them, doggone it, it's just wasn't happening. It's just, you get through one of these games, and it was a battle, is what it was, and we didn't come out on top. And it was unfortunate what happened at the end of the game, but we just didn't capitalize on what with the situations that we were presented. We were like in goal to go, we were 50%, and we were 1 for 2, whereas Kansas City was 3 for 3. They put the ball in the end zone. This boils down to what it is. They put the ball in the end zone and we didn't. And I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I just get it was good football, but we came out on the wrong end.
Right. And that's where I was right before we hopped on, I just kind of had like a weird numb feeling of like, yeah, you're pissed at the loss and kind of perturbed and don't like the branch BS crap. You hate seeing that. But as we do a little deep dive on the offense, I never felt like there was these areas of concern where when we hopped on after Green Bay, you're reeling a little bit like, oh my goodness, we couldn't control the line of scrimmage. Collinsworth, and say what you will about Chris Collinsworth, I love the Sunday Night Crew, and that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but I think Collinsworth breaks down the game really clearly and does a good job highlighting some of the blocking lanes that the offensive line was creating. There was a couple of drives where Gibbs and Montgomery were carrying the ball, 8-9 yards before they were even touched. So there's some positives there. And then I think the Sam Laporta touchdown catch, if Travis Kelce or any of the other tight ends that get all the praise and hype around them make that catch, it's the number one play on SportsCenter. That was incredible. But because Sam Laporta doesn't do any, celebrate, he just celebrates with his teammates. He's just like a easygoing, football guy. I feel like he's sometimes slept on, but that was about as good of a catch. And the throw from Goff, obviously fitting it into that window. But Nat, I guess and Bradford too, obviously, but where I would turn to you guys watching that offense tonight, I know it was only 17 points, but efficiency wise, they moved the ball just fine. They just didn't capitalize it. And then the one costly drop, and there weren't a lot of possessions in this game. This game moved quickly. Both teams were having these long drives that ate up a lot of clock. And so it was a limited possession game, and the Chiefs capitalized and the Lions didn't. I hate to simplify it that much, Nat, but that's kind of where I'm coming from on the offensive side of things.
Right. I mean, and that is the easiest way to put it is they got more points on the board. They got in the end zone more than we did. And, in that first quarter, after that first drive, it was 15 plays, 61 yards, and took up nearly 10 minutes of clock. Now, unfortunately, the Lions had to settle for a field goal after what we just talked about, the illegal motion on Goff, and we could have Lions could have had that touchdown. But I agree, the Lions were able to take up some clock. And I thought the run game, was pretty efficient. I thought Gibbs and Montgomery did a really nice job. We broke down on the podcast last week how the Chiefs, this season haven't been great with their run defense. So the Lions, deployed their running back duo for the most part today, in tandem. And I thought they did a really nice job of that. I just felt like it wasn't enough, and as we saw the secondary go down a little bit more, Kirby Joseph go out, then come back in. Like, I just felt like as soon as, we saw him go out, I felt like our secondary got more and more picked apart, and the Chiefs just started to gain, more momentum in that way as well. So it just felt like everything else offensively got kind of wiped away in that sense. To your point too, though, the Laporta touchdown in the fourth was nice though as well. But just the way the Chiefs came together, I feel like just is like overriding everything to me as I sit back on this game now, the way they just gained rhythm so quickly.
Yeah, they gained rhythm, and they took it to us. And what I mean by taking it to us is that the time of possession in my mind was a wash. It was basically 30 minutes apiece. But it's what you do with that time of possession. And the Chiefs were able to get into a rhythm, and they ended up running, 9 more plays than we did. And so they were able to get up on the ball, complete the quick passes or the runs, because I think Pacheco is one of the hardest runners in the league, along with our guys. He runs, and I know we've used this term before in the past, but he runs angry, and he does a good job with it. And then you throw Kareem Hunt in there as a nice changeup for the Kansas City Chiefs, but we averaged 4.3 yards per rush, and they only averaged 3.9. So we were effective running the ball, but we just started getting a little bit further behind, and we were just trying to find that rhythm in the passing game, and it just wasn't happening. And look, they beat us. I don't know how else to put it, but that's essentially what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I said it earlier in the show, it was, they won. They scored more points, but it was aggravating to watch because you kept waiting for the Lions for some big play to happen, something breaking out, whether it be a turnover, whether it be a big run, whether it be a big pass play, but it just never happened. And it never happened for both sides. The Chiefs were just able to put it into the end zone, and we were not tonight. And getting back to your Laporta catch, holy cow. I mean, and you saw the replay of it. You saw they had a real good close-up of Goff, and Goff was just like, whoa.
Yeah, he looked like the emoji that's like, woo.
Yeah.
For all the toes, it looked great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I think, and I don't know if anyone has any other final thoughts on the offensive side of things before we go to break, other than it's to turn the page kind of night, and the Lions certainly have their hands full. And this is something we talked about all August long, and we know we have plenty of August episodes and plenty of time to talk about things like the schedule. But the Lions have a tough schedule, and that's part of the responsibility, for lack of a better term, that comes with being a really good team year in and year out. Now, all of a sudden, they're playing a much, much tougher schedule, and having the Bucs on Monday Night Football is certainly a testament to that.
Yeah, that's what I mean, that like you said, that is what comes with being a good team. You're going to have good opponents that you're going to have to face, and we knew that going in. Their road schedule is tough this year, right? And we just saw they were able to take on the Bengals. Green Bay didn't go the way they wanted to, but they walked into, Baltimore and they were able to get the job done. I mean, it's not going to be an easy season. It's not a cakewalk in any sort of way. Every opponent is going to, it's going to be a challenge in some sort of way. So they knew tonight wasn't going to be an easy night, and it's not going to be the rest of the season. I mean, these guys have a target on their back. They are the mecca of teams. They set the standard right now in the NFL. They are the target, right? So everyone is trying to, if you can beat the Lions, it says a lot about your team. And so the Chiefs were trying to do everything they could tonight to get that Jacksonville loss off their back and be the one that came out on top. So the Lions are going to try to do everything they can to, they're going to be in the spotlight again next week against this Bucs team. And they're going to have to, guys are going to have to step up leadership wise, have a lot of talks this week on how they can just keep moving forward. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely. Let's talk defense on the other side of this break, and then we will tie a bow on it. Don't go anywhere. We'll take some comments as well. It's the Locked On Lions Squad Show. This episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends at Mazda. Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game. It's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Sam Laporta's touchdown catch in the back of the end zone. Goff fits it in a tight window. Sam Laporta, one-handed catch, 2 feet down. It was incredible. How did Sam Laporta keep himself moving forward? Well, he drives a Mazda. That's how. No, that's not actually in there. But going for it, no matter what, or even a post-game interview, how about it? The moment that moves forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is the beginning. The unexpected is only the beginning. And just like that, there's more to every highlight. There's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, you guys feeling moved after that?
Every time.
That was tough, man. They'd say just figure it out on the fly, and there's all this text, and then you lose your spot. And I'm like, where am I here? Help me. But hey, defensively, this Lions team gives up 30 points to the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought in a lot of ways, the Chiefs look good. I mean, they took advantage of some soft spots in some zones. And Bradford, I want to go to you first. There was a lot made about the Lions playing 3 linebackers with the injuries in the secondary and the back 7. But what did you see just in terms of the way the Chiefs were kind of able to find some soft spots in that Lions defense?
Yeah, I think Collinsworth had pointed it out during the show, and I think that the Chiefs were running away from Aiden. You talk about another turning point possibly in the game is whenever Hutch had the sack strip on Mahomes, and then Mahomes ended up recovering that fumble. And the way this game was going, the Lions needed a jolt of sudden change, and they just didn't get it. And what I mean by sudden change is just, talking about a turnover or special teams coming in with a huge kickoff return or a big punt return. Kansas City only punted the ball 1 time, I think it was. But they felt like going with the 3 linebacker front, the base defense, so to speak, gave them the best possibility for them to win. And they didn't get beat over the top. And they did, and they were playing some man-to-man. But Kansas City was able to move the chains by running those little zone routes. And did they catch everything that was thrown to them? No, they didn't. I mean, you had, well, they pretty much did. They pretty much did catch everything that was thrown to them. I know Kelsey had a drop at the wrong time, and then Worthy had a couple drops. But for the most part, they did a good job of making plays whenever they needed to. But getting back to the defense, I can't. I feel like a broken record. It's just it was blah. There was nothing big that happened, and that was the most aggravating part. And that's what this game for the Lions needed, was just that jolt of a turnover, and it never happened. So, I thought the missed extra point at the very beginning was going to come into play at the end of the game, but it didn't.
Yeah, they talked about the Lions, offense from an offensive standpoint, just the way the flow of the game was going, needing to, hold serve, like you would say in a tennis match where it was going back and forth, and the Amon-Ra drop combined with the Chiefs going down and getting that 2-for-1, the Lions never really recovered from that. And to your point of not being able to force a turnover or have a big play, and really, and a lot of this is a credit to Mahomes, as painful as that is to say. I mean, he's one of the best in the game at evading pressure and creatively getting the ball downfield, stepping out of sacks and that sort of things. But they're just, other than the forced fumble from Hutch that they didn't end up recovering, there was never a time where I felt like the defense was going to make a big play. Muhammad had the sack there at the very, very end that forced the Chiefs to kick the field goal to keep it a 2-score game. But again, there wasn't a lot to go off of to feel better about. But I don't think it's panic time either. I mean, I just think you ran into a buzzsaw tonight, and it turns into, how can this team respond?
Yeah, I mean, they needed a critical stop, and they weren't able to get one, as Mahomes was doing what he does and took that team, and they just took the momentum, especially coming out of halftime, and just took control of this game, on the road. I mean, for the Lions, on the road, for them in that environment. It was critical for them to try and get some sort of, taking away a possession from them, and they just weren't able to kind of create that magic, make some sort of huge play. I mean, no one was able to step up in that kind of way. And so when you're not able to make plays and create a swing in your favor, it just it doesn't create any sort of energy that the team needs to bring it back your way. So it's tough. And again, I know I always bring up the injuries, but it does worry me a little bit, guys, because it reminds me of last year, but trying not to get ahead of myself here. But I mean, you did see some guys step up in a way. Thomas Harper had one big play.
Yeah, that was a big
play. I made a note of that. Trying to remember where it was here in my notes, but it was a big play on 4th down, I thought, somewhere. But anyway, so we're going to see some new names, some new faces pop up, and hopefully those guys learn to step up. Next man up, as Dan Campbell continues to say. So
for sure. I also thought Anzalone was flying around tonight, led the team in tackles, which was good to see. But Bradford, I'm curious, anything else jump out to you defensively, just from guys that were flying around, or maybe even some guys that I hate to say call out, but you expected more from? I thought Kirby did his best to battle through some of the injuries, and obviously in the heat of the moment, you don't know the extent of the injury, but he did get himself back in there and had
I don't know what they did in that blue tent, but he came back and he was flying around, because I thought they were going to pull out the ambulance to take him off the field. Yeah. And then they brought him into the blue tent, and about 3 minutes after that, he came out onto the field and he was ready to play. Yeah. He started flying around. I thought Jack Campbell, played his solid game. I mean, those guys going against the caliber running back, the caliber tight ends that they were going up against. There's going to be times where they're going to get exposed, and that's on both sides. Look, you can say that about Kansas City's linebackers going against Laporta and going against Gibbs and going against Montgomery. So, you take those, but you try to minimize those. And as far as guys getting called out, Jake, what's the point? The only calling out that needs to be called up in front of the team is Branch at the end of the game. And it's just total BS. Come on, man. I mean, we addressed that at the beginning of the show, but defensively and scheme wise, the only thing that you maybe could ask a little bit more is just to get a little bit more inside pressure from the interior rushers. That way you don't have to put that linebacker in a rush type mode and trying to get to the quarterback and maybe pressure up the middle or off the edge. So I don't know. Will it do any good to call anybody out or anything that I saw? Nothing. I just thought it was lowbrow at the end of the game.
Yeah. And I think the players amongst themselves like that they always say that the NFL is the greatest fraternity in the world. Players internally have to police that and have to enforce that. And you got to believe this Lions team has enough veteran leadership, enough guys that understand that's not a part of the Lions culture. It's costly. And again, I go back to that one comment. I'm already mad at myself for referring to this comment twice, but it's not toughness. It's not edge. No, that happens between the whistles. And again, I'm not going to, be a broken record, but yeah, that is as far as, players that from an internal standpoint, policing that, I have confidence in the Lions to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you hope. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Nat. Please.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, and that competitiveness and that fire just comes alone from walking away from a loss. I mean, you're already fired up. You don't need to go and get in a skirmish and make it even more of an issue than what it is. Take it inside, take it to heart, and go. Talk about it with your guys in the locker room. Talk about it on the plane. Talk about it this week. Like, use that as fuel. You don't need to make a scene about it on the field where now it's national headlines. People are going to be talking about this all week. This is going to be all over tomorrow on all the football shows. I mean, it's not a great look for this group and for BB. And if he does have to serve at least a 1-game suspension for an already, I know I already just talked about it, but
yeah,
the decimated, D-back group, like that's not good. I mean, that could be one less guy coming into a huge Monday Night Football game. It doesn't benefit the group in any way, culturally, mentally, and just being a presence, a guy that can be used next Monday if he's not available. Doesn't help in any way.
Because we're what? We're 6 games into the season. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now let's just say, and you talk about scenarios, and this is the coach in me coming out. So you start thinking about scenarios. Brian Branch suspended. Okay. Kirby Joseph, he's playing on a lifeline right now. I don't know what the injury is, but he's playing on a lifeline. So now you have a starting defensive backfield that did not start the season for you across the board. Let's just say if Kirby Joseph is out. So that's a scary proposition. And just from a continuity standpoint, that's the part that would keep me up at night if I was Kelvin Shepherd or any one of the coaching staffs. But we need to find, you need to have a magic shot, or you need to have, magic medical potion or something that these guys can drink to get them back out onto the field.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously, whatever they gave Kirby in the 10, I think that's what you said, Natalie. And
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. But all right, let's tie a bow on this one tonight. Everybody get some sleep, and we'll close it out next on a late night edition of the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love the FanDuel app because it gives me so many ways to play. You can build parlays. How about some player props? And oh yeah, the over-unders. And jump in on a live hunch with the live lines during the games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So what the heck are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Final segment on a Sunday night edition of the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Quick turnaround on these late nights, but hey, we'll have another late night Locked On Lions Squad Show post-game action because that is where the Lions go next. Monday Night Football against the Bucs, who won today. And for the first time, it seems like the entire season, I know this isn't Locked On Bucs, but they actually won a game that wasn't a dramatic last-second field goal or something. They could take a knee, and they beat my fiance's San Francisco 49ers, and boy, was she sad about that. So, hey, sometimes you gotta take it in stride, Sid. Sorry. The Bucs get the win there. But the Lions lose to the Chiefs. And listen, guys, I think a week of practice, turning it around, getting back into what makes this Lions team really good is exactly what the doctor ordered. And Bradford, what do you think Dan Campbell was saying post game? Is it a rah-rah kind of thing? Is it just hey, this wasn't our night, we come back and we look to find a way to get a win on Monday Night Football?
No, the one thing that he's going to stand up in front of the team and just tell them the truth. I know that for a fact. That's just the type of coach he is. That's the way he was raised. He's going to stand up. It's definitely not a rah-rah type moment that you're going to have with this team. They don't deserve that after this performance. There were some players that did do some good things. There were some players that did not do some good things. I think he's going to stand up in front of this team, and we didn't have a chance to see his post-game press conference. We didn't have a chance to see anybody's post-game press conference, but he's just going to say, "Hey, we got beat tonight," and there were a few plays that could have gone the other way, that could have totally flipped this game, but they didn't. And we have to learn from this game, and we have to also capitalize on the opportunities that are presented to us to make sure that we can, those plays that could have gone our way, make sure they go our way next time. That's it.
Plain and simple. That's it. Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be some growing pains this week, as there was after the Green Bay loss. I remember we were all sitting here going, oh my gosh, hit the panic button. It was hard.
Yeah.
A little bit. Well, you probably.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Bradford, you had to talk Jake and I off the ledge. I remember.
Yeah. Bradford's always cool, calm, and collected, and you know what? That's why we're a squad. We all work together. Bradford's like, "Come now, you young grasshoppers. I've been there. I know what
I've been in those shoes. I get it more than anybody." Even after the Bengals win, Jake and I were still like, "Yeah, win is a win," but it wasn't a great win. And Bradford's like, "But a win is a win, kid."
That's right.
Exactly. So no, you're going to learn from it. I mean, there's 17 games in a regular season, and we're at 5-2 right, or 4-2. Why do I keep saying 5-2? Maybe I'm predicting the future versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right. So this team is resilient. They have proven that over the last few years. They're going to be fine. They just have to get back to work. They ran into a buzzsaw with Kansas City tonight that just happened to find its rhythm in its offense, and they played doggone good defense as well. They were a bend but don't break defense tonight is what they were. And offensively, they were functioning on all cylinders. I will say this. I think it's going to be a good learning game for Tate Ratledge. If, and not, I know we're getting towards the end of the show, but just some of the things that he did tonight raised my eyebrows just a little bit. His one-on-ones versus Chris Jones were not the best, but there was one play in particular that I want to say Jahmyr Gibbs, Ratledge pulled, Jahmyr Gibbs was running to the left.
Yep. I know.
And it happened in the first half.
Yeah, threw a no-hitter.
Yeah, and he just kind of looked around and was looking for the ball. You don't look for the ball if you're on the field of play. If you want to watch the game, I've told players this plenty of times. If you want to watch the game, I'll buy you a ticket and you can go sit up in the stands and drink a beer with popcorn. So if you're on the field of play, you go find somebody to hit, because that's your job. That's what you get paid for.
For sure. I think wrapping it up, just to throw some stats out there. Jared Goff, 23 of 29 for 203 yards. He continues to be incredibly efficient. And I know, like you said, we're getting to the end of it, but I wanted to go back to a comment. And there's been so many comments and people yelling at each other, using the comment section to troll one another, which we do not condone by any means. Come on, guys. We don't have a producer to keep track of the comments like they do in the ticket text. We got to police it yourselves a little bit better there. But somebody mentioned maybe not feeding David Montgomery as much this game, and why that was the case. And I know it's a good thing to have two quality backs like the Lions do. And, we're a week removed from talking about how they broke the record for the most games with both of them scoring touchdowns. But Demo definitely did not see a lot of touches tonight. And I mean, Bradford, do you think that's something to be concerned about, or just kind of more the flows of the game?
I think it was just the flow of the game and the way the game was called. It's just his number was not called tonight. And if you go back and let's say we get through the season and then you look back on 2025 and then you compare it to the previous 3 seasons that tandem, or was it 2 seasons that the tandem has been together, I think you're going to see everything is going to balance itself out throughout the season. It just was not his night tonight.
100%. Yeah. Let me pull up the stats here too. Okay. Well, my phone's freezing up on me, but yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs was the one that they wanted to use more tonight, and it was more efficient. Yeah. I mean, it's not always going to be your night, as Bradford said. And, Jahmyr was just the guy that they ended up using more in the run game. And, it's not always going to be your night, and I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Unfortunately, the Lions lose tonight, 30-17, the final in this one. What do we say? We call it a show. We get some sleep. We get ready for the work week. We get ready for that live show on Thursday. Hope you'll join us for that. Make sure you like today's video, subscribe as well. And we will get everyone out a little bit early tonight. Like those Microsoft Teams meetings you have. I just got 5 minutes back in your day tonight, so you guys are welcome. But final thoughts, Bradford. I'll kick it to you first.
No, I'll be curious to see how they bounce back against the Buccaneers, because the Buccaneers team is one of the hottest teams in the NFL. So that's what I'm going to be curious to see going into next week.
Yeah, Bucks are 5-1. They're riding a nice little, hot streak right now, and they're going to be a nice challenge too for this Lions group. I mean, every team on the schedule that the Lions have up ahead is a challenge, but there's a lot to look at this week. A lot for this group to sit back and realize, just like they did after Green Bay, and what they did after that was come out and beat a Chicago Bears team in a really big way. So who knows what we'll see against this Tampa Bay team? Maybe it'll be a huge response. I'm interested to see what that'll look like. So we shall see.
Yes, for sure. A Monday night at Ford Field, a primetime game. That Ford Field crowd will be ruckus, loud, and ready to go. For the 20-year NFL veteran Bradford Banta, FanDuel Sports, Natalie Kerwin. My name is Jake Riepma. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Make sure you check out the Locked On Lions show with Matt Derry, and check us out on Thursday for our live show. We'll preview Monday Night Football and so much more. Have a wonderful rest of your evening/morning. And the Lions fall to the Kansas City Chiefs 30-17, now 4-2 on the season. Good night, everyone.